Okay, so I'm here today with Bill DeWeese, and this particular section, this video is called My Ideal Client and Why, and it's sort of like I've made Bill teacher's pet for the day.
I'm flattered. I'm flattered and honored. Thank you.
Well, let me just ask you this, because a lot of people who work with me seem to think, I guess, that, they sign an agreement, we get involved, we are now 50-50 partners, and all of a sudden I'm going to do all the work for them. Could you sort of dispel that myth right off the top?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that it might work out that way, to be honest. No, I'm kidding. No. Yeah, really, the way the partnership works, at least the way I look at it, is that I come from it as I'm the subject matter expert in my area.
Yep.
You're the information marketing expert in your area. And there in the middle, there's a lot of area where I learn, and I'm sure you learn a little bit of what I do as well. But without your knowledge, I would not be doing what I'm doing, being able to market my information. So I realize there's a lot on me to make sure that I produce content. That's my big thing.
Got it. What kind of content are you producing that I ask you to produce and that you produce on your own on a regular basis?
Yeah, well, I'm working on a series of products, which for me are tutorial products, teaching people how to get into and build a voiceover business. On a more regular basis, though, blogging, and in particular, I've really gotten into the whole not mini, but video, kind of mini video blogs.
Right.
And that was kind of through, I guess, some trial and error and experimenting, and you had actually suggested it, and I tried it, and people responded to it immediately. And I found it fairly easy to do. So I like to just do slice of life stuff while I'm at work. Things that come up, issues that come up, questions that people have asked me along the way, and I'll sit down and for 5 or 10 minutes I'll zip out a video.
Okay, so in addition, and so how often are you actually doing those blog posts, in this case, the mini video blog posts? How often are you doing them?
About 3 to 4 a week.
Okay, so 3 or 4 a week, and they usually run anywhere from, what, 5 to 15 minutes?
Well, even less than that. I would say they probably average 6 or 7, but anywhere from 4 to 10 at them. Well, I did one that was 14 minutes, but typically less than 10.
Now, like most people, at least like a number of other people that I work with, you have a regular full-time job because you make your living as a voiceover artist. So when do you have time to squeeze this in, and why are you taking the time to do it?
Well, they're two very good questions. When do I have time? I'm not really sure how I do that, but somehow I do manage to squeeze it in. Now, and it's just like anything else. You make time for the things that are important, which I'll address that in just a second. But when I actually do it, typically is in the morning when I come in and I'm fresh and before I get started in the day. Because once I get started recording, I get client projects to start flying in the door or through email.
Yep.
And it's just hard to stop to make time for it. So I do some in the evening, but mostly I'll do it in the morning before I actually start my regular voiceover workday. The reason I'm doing it is because, quite frankly, I don't want to be recording for the rest of my life. I mean, I do love this and I enjoy it, but it is tiresome. It's, it may not be digging ditches, but it is hard work.
Yeah,
And
no doubt. And I mean, again, you're right now in a position where you only get paid if you produce work.
Yes, absolutely. And so if I take a day off, if I take a vacation, I do not get paid. Worse than that, I even state, since this is such a commoditized market, I stand the chance of losing that client to somebody else who they can easily find.
Got it. So the reason why you're taking the time to get involved with the information marketing business and to produce products and do the blogging and everything necessary to make this successful
is so that down the road, I'm not trading my time for money.
Got it. Okay. And so now one of the things that I asked you to do is to put together an outline of all the products that we would be producing. Talk to people a little bit about that process, how you went about doing it, and how you would suggest others consider doing it in their field of expertise as well.
Yeah, well, and the outline I use is just the one that you taught, and it's very easy, and that's simply do a brain dump. Use index cards or something similar, where you just brain dump every idea that you can think of within your area of expertise that would be useful information for people who are interested, in your particular area. So that's what I did. I just did a brain dump, and actually did that. I mean, I did an initial brain dump, and then really did it over a series of days, and even over for the next few weeks or so, I was still coming up with ideas. And then once I had the major ideas, the major thoughts, the subjects that needed to be addressed, then I went through and tried to write down 4, 5, or 6 bullet points that addressed each of those questions or issues within my area of expertise on those index cards. So when I'm done, I've got like 55, 56 subjects with 5 subpoints each.
Now, the other thing is once that product is completed, which is in the process right now, one of the things that you and I will need to do jointly is to create sort of a sales methodology for getting that stuff sold. And one of the things that I'm going to ask you to do, and I think I've already asked you, is to compile the bullet points associated with each of those different topics. Now, could you sort of explain sort of why we're doing that and how that's done and how, if you've gotten started, how you're doing it?
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, first of all, I mean, let's use an example. Let's say one of the topics is, should I use an agent? Do I need an agent in my voiceover career?
Right?
So my subtopics might be union versus non-union. That would play into that. And then there are other areas like should I go local or regional, and so on and so forth. So yes, I have started that process, and I know part of at least of what we want to do with that, in addition to help me, guide me in creating the product, is that we can put I forget the term that we were using, but basically a document that we can post with the description of the product, so that people can get a quick look, kind of like a cheat sheet
Yep.
of what the
Like a
topic
checklist.
a checklist,
Yes.
yes.
And so the checklist, though, in terms of selling this, what people have to know is what are in each of the modules. So one of the things that we're creating is that bullet point sort of here's what, in addition to, and we can talk about that in a little bit, which is sort of the sales video that we put together. When people come to a sales page to see about a product and whether or not it's for them, they want to see what's contained inside that product. And so that's where we need the bullet points, which are the features and benefits and the things that would benefit the people going there. Explain to me a little bit about how you're doing that, or have you started on that yet?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've spent some time already creating them for another product. We're looking at a live event type product where people actually come in and spend time with me in the studio. And so I created a series. It's been a while since I produced that, but I think it was actually 5 videos in all that broke down those bullet points, and where we have a PowerPoint or keynote type presentation, and where I'm actually on the screen with that keynote presentation talking through those bullet points and explaining how it works. And so by having, I think, video along with the bullet points kind of helps to better reinforce and communicate the message.
Yeah, so that video then is going to be probably you one-on-one, sort of you looking in the camera, talking to people who are visiting a site, telling them what?
Well, I'm telling them, first of all, first of all, why I have credibility, why I'm qualified to do this to begin with, because that's the first question. Why you?
Yeah.
Want to work with you. And then nextly, just explaining what the topic is and exactly how it works. And by actually talking into the video, I can take a little more time to explain the importance of the topic and to better, I guess, I was going to use the word embellish, but embellish would kind of reek of non-truthfulness. I'm only, I want to tell them, expand upon those topics a little bit in the video.
Yeah. And so, and again, in terms of how you and I are going to be working on this, this is something that you, in most cases, unless you're here with me, which I encourage you to be, and you're here probably 2-3 times a year, one of the things that you'll do is put it together on your own, and then I will critique it after you've done it, correct?
Right. Yes, correct.
Right. So again, this is a collaboration where Bill puts it together, and then I will look at it, and occasionally I've said, hey, that's perfect, but many times I've said,
you say, well, this is good, but, maybe a little bit shorter or a little quicker to the point, little things here and there.
And so you've had to go back and
tweak.
Got it.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's just how it works. So now the other thing is, if we're talking about the three-legged stool of information marketing, we talk about product, we talk about conversion, we talk about traffic. In the area of product, the thing that I always impress upon you is we really want to lay out a blueprint for whoever's interested in voiceover training, which you have then separated into 4 different categories. And those 4 categories, real quickly, are?
Well, we've got the basics, we've got the technology, we've got the marketing and performance.
Got it. And so you've taken within each of your 58 unit or module brain dump, you've apportioned each of those into each of the categories, correct?
Correct.
So
yes.
You've got 4 major categories, and then you've got sub-bullet points under each. And again, those are those all going to be in one form, audio or video or text, or what?
It'll be a mixture of all of those, depending on what's appropriate. Some things video works best. Some things text will work best. Some things audio will work best.
Absolutely agree. So then, okay, so now one of the things that I always think about is the fact that, my background helping people create products, I'm not really worried about the quality of the product. And the true definition of whether or not a product succeeds is, number 1, how many do you sell? And number 2, how many returns do you get? So when we start looking at this, that's our ultimate determination of whether or not the product is good. Because people say, is the product good? Well, the answer is how many did you sell and how many people sent them back after they saw them or heard them or whatever. So that's our definition. Now, moving to the other one here, conversion. I think that we got to tell people about the fact that we try and convert people when they get to the site on one of two things. Either buy a product directly, A, or B, get them to opt in. Talk to people a little bit about what your opt-in rates have been on the site voice-over-training.org.
You know, we're early on getting the data on that,
Yeah.
but it's, if I remember right, wasn't it like, I think like close to 50% of the people who visited?
It was crazy. And now, in other words, it was very high. Now, what do you attribute your success to? Because again, we want to try and build the list. When I was talking to Avish yesterday, one of my other JV partners who you know, he was a little frustrated because his opt-in rates were a lot lower. And I said, you know what? I think we got to look at two things. Number one is what's the title of what we're giving away? And number two is what's the video associated with trying to get people to sign up? Thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I think that, yeah, you've got to hook them with the title.
Yeah.
And then also, I think the website, yeah, has to somehow really reek of credibility. There has to be a lot of good content. And that's the comment I do get a lot from people. They say, wow, this stuff was really useful. You know, people say, you know, I just spent hours going through all your YouTube videos, and I haven't heard anybody saying this before. So once we have hooked them with that, you know, the product title, we have something behind it to substantiate it. And I think that's kind of what closes the deal.
Yeah, so it's a combination. When you talk conversion, whether it be to email or to sale, you're talking about converting people using both video, talking directly to them, and some of the copies of the text. Now, moving to traffic, one of the things that we're trying to do in order to get traffic, name a few of the things that you're trying to do. And again, since you're a JV partner, I'm oftentimes telling you, hey, try this, try this, try this. What are the things you've tried and what's worked?
Well, we're experimenting right now with Facebook advertising. And I mean, literally, this is just a very small experiment that we launched last week. And right now, I mean, I think we've gotten like 3 or 4 visitors.
Now, by the way, did I do that Facebook ad for you? Did I sign up for you?
No, I did that.
Okay.
I did. You said, Bill, why don't you do a Facebook ad?
Okay.
And I said, well, that's a good idea. I hadn't thought about it. So,
Good.
yeah.
Good. Now, the other thing is we've got a lot of elements of traffic building. We've got a lot of elements of conversion, and the product itself is real good. Now, one of the things I want you to talk about, the 2 tiers or 3 tiers, actually, that we came up with for live events that you would do.
Well, yeah, there's the one where one person can come in and spend essentially a weekend, 3 days with me in my studio. And then we have one where we'll have 5 people come in for 2 days, and that costs a little less of the undivided attention, but still good personal one-on-one. And then we have one where we'll do 3 people for 2 days and then 5 people for 1 day.
Right. And each of those then will be priced differently. The one person who's coming in getting personal attention might pay, I think we came up with 10 grand.
Right, yes.
The three people coming in for 2 days, 5 grand, and then 5 people coming in for 1 day would be 2 grand or 2,500 or something.
500, right.
Got it. So we've tiered that as well. And again, all of those offers, we haven't done any of those yet, but we're setting everything else up. And by the way, talk to people about time frame and expectations to get these things up and running. Because I think a lot of times people are fooled because they see so much stuff on the internet, get rich overnight, that I want you to give them some accurate indications of what it's going to take, how long it's going to take, and what their expectations should be.
This is an investment. So you take it and you start to grow it and you massage it and you work with it and you watch it grow. And it takes a little while to do that. Now, I started in December, and here we are in May, and I'm seeing momentum now. Every day I'm getting people who are responding to my website and to my blog posts, and people who are now beginning to ask for product, which, quite frankly, I'm glad they haven't been asking earlier, because I want to have more stuff together before I really push this hard. So, you've always said, like, give it a year to 18 months. Well, I'm about, 6 months into it, and I'm really seeing some momentum right now, but don't expect it to happen in a week.
Got it. So now, again, just to clarify for everybody who is either a JV partner, considering becoming a JV partner, the amount, I want people to understand exactly how this relationship works. And so a lot of times people are confused, thinking that once they sign the agreement and we get going, that I'm basically going to do everything for them. Would you please dispel them from that myth?
Fred's role is really as of a teacher and a consultant. And so a consultant doesn't come in and do everything for you. A consultant shows you how to do it and gives you feedback on what you're doing and helps redirect you and has has access to resources that you don't have, and that's what Fred provides.
Perfect. Hey, Bill, thank you very much for your time. I know you're a busy working voiceover artist, so get back to work and make some money.
All right, Fred. Thank you.
Talk to you.